NF is one of the most underrated rappers in the hip-hop industry and recently was on NME for an interview covering his new album Hope. In this video, I'm going to be reacting to parts of this interview, but if you want to watch the full thing, then be sure to check it out on the NME channel.
Hi, I'm Nick, and I'm joined by NF for the latest in NME's In Conversation series. How's it going today?
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. You had a long flight to get here, but are you holding up all right?
Surviving. We're talking about the jet lag or whatever. It's definitely rough. A lot of times I end up making the title track last. So sometimes that's frustrating too, because I'm just like, I don't have the beginning of the album done until the end. And I'd prefer it's like you start at the beginning and go to the end, you know?
That's crazy, dude. He doesn't have the title track done until the end of the album. So he writes all of his other songs first before he writes his title track, right? So for this album, Hope, he wrote Hope last, which is crazy because it's the first song, it's the opening, it's the first one he released, and he wrote it last. Like, that's crazy, man. I like that.
I think I've kind of been crafting, like I'm a huge movie fan and I like connecting my records and songs and stuff like that. And that's like the journey I'm on in life. I'm trying to like figure things out. And I kind of like mention that in, you know, my search record and stuff, like looking for the map to hope and just talking about just like metaphors and stuff that's just in my music. And so, yeah, when I was making this project, I was like, trying to think of the cover and
Speaking of metaphors, this man has so many freaking metaphors in his music, so many callbacks to other songs, like so many things he brings out. In Hope, when people saw the map, they might not have been like, oh, that's the map to Hope. But people that listened to the Search album, when he talked about the map to Hope, were like, dude, that's the map to Hope. Like things like that, which is really, really cool.
Like I feel like creatively people want to hear something different from me. And I get bored of my stuff too. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to do something crazy different, you know? But also in my real life, when you're trying to figure stuff out and you're trying to grow as a person, it takes time to do that. But the industry we live in, it's like if you leave for 3-4 years or whatever, then it's like you could be gone by then.
So two things here. The first of all is there's so many people that have been telling NF, hey, you need to switch it up. Hey, you need to change your music. You need to change it. You know, you're a one-track wonder kind of thing. Like, a lot of his music seemed to be very similar in the fact of, like, he was writing from a very depressed mood and mindset and stuff like that. And a lot of his music videos are very dark and stuff. So like, oh, you know, NF could only do one thing. He's really good at one thing. So that's kind of why he changed. And if you listen to his new album, Hope, he has changed so much. Like, a lot of his stuff is so freaking different. And it's actually really, really cool. Also, the next thing is the fact that when he talks about how when he's gone, like in the industry, if people are gone for years, they'll just disappear, right? But for NF, it's not like that, right? He has gained such a community. He's created such a community where we literally are waiting for his new songs. And he even talks about that in his new song. I forgot which one, but he says like, you guys are literally eating out of my hand. Like you guys want it so bad. So that's kind of cool.
Just that's happening, just getting worse and worse with that. So it's like, I don't know, I was trying to navigate that, but also just be authentic to how I feel. I didn't want to make another album that I felt was like depressing, but also I felt like I kind of got in my head a little bit sometimes writing it, just being like, oh, I can't make anything that's the same, and I can't talk about anything that's the same, and every song needs to be like positive. And I still think that what I ended up with was great. It's just the process was like a little more unnatural, I guess. That was like the hardest music video I've ever shot before.
It looks incredible. What was it actually like to shoot?
It was the hardest like thing. We shot it in Oregon. I showed up and I got a text that was like, I think they said, hey, the power's out in the town we're staying in. So we're like staying in this little town. And the hotel power, when I arrived, there was no power in the hotel we were in, so that was a great start. And then there was a huge storm. I guess the month I was there, they said it's like the worst time of year you can go there, so I was like, okay, great. And then, yeah, I woke up, I got videos on my phone. I woke up the next day and there's just sheets of rain. And the first day I was on the water. And you can't tell in the music video, but half that day was like literally the waves were so big, the boat with the camera on it, you couldn't even like film. So we were on that
That's
water
crazy.
for probably like 6 to 8 hours, and we only got to film like an hour and a half total because for the whole water scene.
Look how beautiful it looks. Like from the music video perspective, like as a viewer, you can't really tell that it's like stormy like that. You know what I'm saying? Like look at this shot right here. That's so freaking gorgeous. I'm assuming that's on a different day, because if it was storming when he was on the raft, probably wouldn't look like this. But that's really cool, like kind of like a behind the scenes kind of thing.
So it was rough. I think I love the video how it turned out, but man, it looks so calm. It looks so calm when you watch.
You look kind of strong unless if it's all just breezy.
Dude, I know. I'll show you a video on my phone before I leave. Like literally, I have a video of the camera guy in the front of the boat, and the whole boat is going like this, and you couldn't even see. Like the water and the fog and everything was so intense, and then literally you see the video, and the sun started coming out. It was crazy, and we were supposed to shoot on the ocean, and we got there, and they were like, "Hey, no one's allowed on the ocean because of how big the storm was." That was like the huge storm came the night before, and then you were getting kind of like the after shock or whatever you call it from that. So,
which is probably why it's so freaking pretty, because obviously after a storm, like the sun is it's just beautiful. Like it's just absolutely beautiful. So I'm assuming that was like the next day or after the storm had passed when the sun was starting to come out.
But yeah, it was the cliff at the end of the video. It was like a 4-mile hike to get there. 2 miles there, 2 miles back. But that was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I don't even know what the cliff was called, but
it's a very different video, but the motto video is really fun. Was that an enjoyable shoot?
It was. It's my productions have gotten a lot bigger.
Yeah.
I used to say I wanted to be in a movie or like shoot like a short film thing, but now I'm like, I don't know if I want to now. Just because like I'm such a control freak and I get so stressed out, and it's 12 hours of, that shoot was I think it was a 3-day shoot. And so you're just like 12, 15-hour days of just like, because I think we went overtime on 2 days. So it's just like, I don't know. It's a lot to do. But there's probably ways where I think sometimes I'm so paranoid about getting enough good shots and good options that sometimes I overshoot. So that doesn't make it easy.
That's crazy though. You would not think that shoot was like 3 days. Because I know we invited his fans out to have that shoot, but the fact of like it's 3 days, you would think like it was a day. It might have been like a long day, but not 3 days. That's insane.
Because I could move on to the next shot quicker than I do, but I don't, because I'm like, oh, what if I want to see this, and it's like a 12-second shot that I put out a behind the scenes for Motto, and there's just a moment where I say, oh, it can take 2 hours to shoot 12 seconds. And it's like, it shouldn't take that long. Sometimes I make it take that long. And I'm like, no, we need to shoot this direction, and it's like, done, let's move on. But the fans made that possible. I was nervous about that video because I was like, man, I don't want to do it if I can't make it look at least somewhat legit with the people, like in the auditorium. I'm like, man, if no one shows up or something, or even if 400 people showed up, you couldn't make that work. So I had to have 1,200 or
That's how many there were, 1,200, wow.
Yeah, fans showed up
That's
in dresses and suits, and so I was like so thankful for that. I say it in the video, but people don't realize I was super nervous about that. Because it's one thing to have people come to your shows, but music videos are tough, especially when you're like, hey, you got to dress this way.
Yeah.
Like I think when I grow up, there's like 600 people. I was like, hey, I just wear black and jump around in the crowd. That's way different. This was like, hey, you got to dress in a suit and a tie and a dress, and yeah. So that was a crazy video too, but I think it turned out good. I was proud of that one.
What story were you trying to tell with that video? What was the concept behind it?
I just feel like sometimes I just like to poke fun at our industry that we're in. I mean, I'm in it, so I see a lot of stuff, and like So I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the older I get, the more I like care less about certain
I love that video so much. His smiles, like his facial expressions,
things.
so good.
It's not really like some people tried to make it about like like a knock, like I'm knocking certain artists. It's not about that. It's like if you're an artist and you get a Grammy, like it's a big deal to a lot of people. I'm just saying for me, I'm not saying if I ever got a Grammy I wouldn't care at all. I'm just saying I care way less about those things than I used to, just because I'm in it. Like I would much rather sell out arenas in behind the scenes.
Which, by the way, he's doing. Like his Hope album tour sold out completely everywhere. Like not even just in the States, but like outside the States, like everywhere sold out.
Be doing big things than like get a Grammy. And some people will probably be like, oh, it's just because you don't got one. It's like, no, that's not why. Like I've just seen what the industry is, and there's things I love about it too. But yeah, I'd much rather be like killing it behind the scenes.
You talk about becoming a dad on the record. Like, how has that changed you as a person and as an artist?
Definitely still growing. I feel like I'll have some songs in the future that kind of touch on it more, because this is all kind of happening while I'm having a kid, you know, the process of this record. But I feel like having a kid, you have to look at your issues even more, because now you're like raising a human being. And I feel like you can't run from it as much. I mean, you can, but at the end of the day, your kid's still sitting there. And I'm like, man, if you're a impatient person, which I am an impatient person, I'm great with him. He's made me, he makes me have to look at myself even more and say like, oh man, I need to figure this thing out about myself, because now I feel like when you have a kid, like what you do, you know, we're all products of our environment and like how we grew up, and as adults now, you know, the way we're raised and everything impacts us. And so like I'm just trying to like.
That's so interesting, dude. I'm sure NF is like such an excellent dad because he knows how important it is to have somebody there. But it's cool because when he's had a kid, it does make him have to look at himself. And he did mention it in Hope. He mentioned how when you have a kid, it makes you have to look in the mirror and look at yourself, look at your issues to maybe fix them so that you can help your child when they're growing up to not have those same issues, which is, yeah, I like that.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a lot of having a kid that makes me think about my mom. The song, the main thing was just like, the older I get, the more I've realized, like the songs, if you followed my story, I don't remember when How Could You Leave Us came out, like 6-7 years ago maybe. It's a very different song than that, which is why I'm excited about it, because some people, I don't know what they're expecting to hear when they hear this song, but I'm excited about it because it's just so different. Like if you follow my story, you're witnessing the growth of a person. Like I was saying earlier, where like as an artist and as a person, I write about my life, so I need time to grow, right? I feel like that song is an example of that, where 31, I think when I wrote How Could You Leave Us, I was like 25, 26, I don't know. And the way you view life, man, it's just like different. Now I have so much like, I just have more empathy now looking back at like, you know, my mom was a product of the environment she was raised in. And so that impacted her a lot. Not saying it was right or that she couldn't have made other decisions, but it's just like everyone gets impacted by something, and it definitely affects you as an adult, how you're raised and the trauma and the things that happen to you. So
that is so true, and that's such a good perspective on his mom and the whole situation. And How Could You Leave Us, he really like blamed his mom for everything that she had done, for, you know, doing drugs and for leaving her family and stuff. But with Mama and his new album, it's such a new perspective of like, you know what, you are a product of how you grew up and all that. So it's such a better, more healthier perspective. So I'm glad that NF was able to come around and realize that.
That's why I'm excited about this song. I feel like you still feel emotional when you listen to it, but like you don't feel angry. Like I don't know. I'm pumped for that one to come out for sure. I just want to do like the features that I actually like. Like I feel like when you look at my track list and you think about me as an artist, and then if you like listen to a lot of Corday stuff and Julia stuff, it just doesn't feel weird to me. You know, I've definitely been asked to do features where I'm just like, even by artists where I love some of their songs. I do. I think they're amazing. But I'm just like, man, I feel like it feels weird. I want to do something with AJR. I think their stuff is dope. I feel like we could do something super cool with them.
Yo, NF and AJR. I don't know who that is actually. But yo, AJR in the future, potential freaking feature with them. That'd be cool.
No, I think sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes I think people try to make it work because they're like business wise it makes sense, but then it also just brand wise it feels kind of weird. Like, that feels forced. Like you two are good singers, but like it doesn't seem like you should do the song together.
All right, guys. So that was super cool. That was NF's interview with NME, and it was really, really interesting to see him respond to those questions about the Hope album, growing up. How his perspective has kind of changed recently, and especially with his kid on in his family. Like that's super, super cool. So yeah, if you guys want to see me react to more interviews like this one or more songs or something like that, drop a suggestion down in the comments down below. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, hopefully y'all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.